enthusiasm.
Yeah.
We have to talk about what Iron Sheik was tweeting this week.
Genghis, that's you.
I watched the Seinfeld. The Uncle Lee died. I watched Sean hate that motherfucker Kramer. He talk about black people bad. Fuck him.
We have our Iron Sheik tweet of the week. Today we recap the events that took place on the pay-per-view, the Elimination Chamber, 2011.
Yeah,
Did we like it? Was it good? We're about to find out. Everybody introduce yourselves.
I'm Christopher Says on the boards.
I'm Mr. War Machine.
I'm Genghis.
And I am the Magpie, Kachu. Let's get started with the first match of the night, Kofi versus Alberto Del Rio. And I gotta say, that was a really good opening match.
Yeah, it was a great one. It was a good way to kickstart the entire night. And it also put over how well the crowd was reacting to the entire thing. As soon as Chimel introduced Ricardo Rodriguez, there was a pretty massive boo.
You know, sometimes on pay-per-views, because you have a lot more people showing up at pay-per-views than most TV tapings, and sometimes they're papered with free tickets and that kind of thing, and sometimes it's people who wouldn't even be called casual fans who show up for this kind of thing. Sometimes pay-per-views are a different sort of audience than you get at a regular Raw or SmackDown. But this time, we got a crowd that knew their history, knew what was going on with all the storylines, was very responsive. And by the way, did anybody notice, in Oakland, the entire front row was white?
Yes.
I guess it is kind of odd. And so I guess Ricardo introduces Del Rio. Del Rio pretty much cuts a promo saying how Kofi Kingston's trash, among other things. He reiterates his destiny as he's been doing for the past few weeks. Kofi comes out and they have a pretty solid match. Throughout the beginning, Del Rio is mostly trying to use Ricardo to distract Kofi. He's trying to wear him down. He does a headlock with a body scissors. And he pretty much eventually it gets to a point where he just does this immensely high elevation suplex, this belly to back suplex, and from there it just keeps on going.
And then that just shows Alberto Del Rio is just great in ring prowess. He's able to adapt to other people's styles, so he can work with a high flyer like Kofi, and he can have a match with a bigger guy or a small guy like Mysterio. I mean, just seeing him counter Kofi's moves or just interact with Kofi or put the offense on him, he was really able to just work with them, because sometimes when you put people together, they'll get a good match out of it, but mainly sometimes it'll be clumsy or it won't be as fluent. But this one was really good. I love to see Del Rio get the world title, because he can really bring out the best in people and work with them, not against them.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I don't see him winning the world title at WrestleMania. I see him looking really good at WrestleMania, but I don't see him winning.
He's not going to win at this WrestleMania, I don't think, but I could easily see him being world champ at some point in the future.
I think he can pull it off, but he might not win it because, he's the heel, and he's like, oh, it's my destiny, I'm going to do it. So he expects things to hand it to him. So storytelling method, his ultimate folly would be he would fail at the big event where destinies are made. So storytelling-wise, I could see that falling under, oh, he came this close. He's going to look good no matter what. He's going to put on a great match. I trust Del Rio, and Edge can work with him very well.
Another possibility could be that, in order to build up for Cena's ultimate win, this might be a spoiler alert, but I will say that it kind of capped off a pretty good night, put a dark cloud over it. Nonetheless, Del Rio might win just to get a heel champion, just to get the crowd kind of a little bit low for Cena's ultimate triumph.
I'd say it's probably 70-30 in favor of Edge retaining.
Now, one great spot of the match, and I think this was towards the end, where Kofi got up on the top ropes and he's getting ready to do the crossbody. Del Rio, with his amazing athleticism, is able to jump up and do the double knee lung blower right as Kofi's landing onto him. Well, I thought it looked like a botch the first time because I didn't catch it, but then I see Kofi selling the move really well. I'm like, oh shit, that was amazing.
Del Rio early on was very much targeting the ribs. He did another spot where he put him in a fireman's carry and then did a kind of double knee, I guess you'd call it a rib breaker. It was really good. It set up a kind of chain of events. Another spot he tried, Ricardo distracted Kofi. There's a near fall and then Kofi does the SOS.
That's the thing about Kofi, I think. In a lot of ways, Kofi reminds me of Rob Van Dam. He's got a lot of the same sort of athleticism, and similarly, Kofi just does his stuff. It's kind of up to the other guy to work Kofi's stuff into the match in a way that makes sense and to tie it all together. So Kofi's matches are wildly inconsistent, even though he's doing the same stuff every time. But Del Rio knows very well how to take practically anybody.
Del Rio is amazing at adapting. It's like watching Chris Jericho take on anybody. He can have good matches with the Big Show. He can have matches with Mysterio and match their style and play off of that, rather than just do something that's going to benefit themselves.
Yeah, and definitely. But the difference between Kofi and RVD is, and at least in my opinion, Kofi cuts a better promo. You just never hear it. The match pretty much ended when, Kofi was up on the top ropes, about to do a spot, and Del Rio just, turns him over, grabs him, and does what looked to me like a reverse. It kind of looked like Nigel McGuinness's Tower of London, except, Kofi was the other way, like a kind of inverted version. Goes from there to the cross arm breaker for the tap.
Yeah, it looked like it hurt.
It's like I train, so when they're demonstrating the move to me, when somebody does it lightly, it hurts like hell. So I couldn't even imagine the way Kofi was selling that move and the way Del Rio looked like he was putting on. Oh man, that just looked awful.
Yeah, the secret to the cross arm breaker is if you don't want it to hurt, you do it laying flat on the mat at a precise 90-degree angle to their body. If you want it to hurt, you twist it to the side. That's what can break a fucking bone right there.
They kind of cut to Randy Orton backstage looking fixated on winning his own Elimination Chamber match. It was really pointless. They just cut to him kind of grinning, and then they dissolved into a interview between Grisham and Edge, where Edge basically said, I'm going to win tonight. If I can survive Vicky Guerrero, then I could survive the Elimination Chamber. He's done it before. He'll do it again. And of all people, Drew McIntyre interrupts him, talks about innocent casualties, obviously puts over Kelly Kelly. It surprised me. I thought they weren't going to continue that, little snippet promo he had before his match with Chris Masters on that SmackDown.
They are determined to get McIntyre over, ain't they?
Oh, yeah. It's kind of sad that it's not working with as hard as they're trying.
I do know he got a decent pop when he entered in the chamber. It wasn't like Jesus or The Rock walking down the ramp, but he did get a good... Yay! Alright, let's go back to eating popcorn and drinking.
Yeah, gotcha.
He looks like he should be dressed in a puffy shirt with ruffles, with a rapier in his hand, having a fencing match with somebody. That's what always comes to mind whenever I see that dude. It's why aren't you like Rob Roy or William Wallace's number 2 henchman helping him out in raids against the dirty English?
That was the best night of the match, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was easily match of the night.
That was easily the best night of the match, yes.
Oh, yeah. It set the standard, and, it had very decent spots. It had a very good one-on-one finish. And even though the finish was predictable, it wasn't a letdown, like another certain Elimination Chamber match that we're going to get to later.
They got a chance to look good, show off their moveset, and dominate.
The match starts, Kane enters first, he goes in his pod. Drew enters second, but he makes a really big deal about it. He starts banging on the glass and sort of jumping around. Barrett enters third, and they cut to Drew, who still won't stand still. And then Teddy Long comes out, and in lieu of Dolph Ziggler getting eliminated from the competition, he says, here's the 4th participant. Turns out to be Big Show.
Well,
it's a Big Show.
And there's a collective groan.
I've talked to a couple of jobbers who've worked him. That punch he does, complete work. He barely even touches you. But it looks like he is smashing guys' face inside out.
Yeah, and there's definitely a good noise that goes with it, too. It looks genuine.
I wish he would just yell Falcon Punch as he just decked a guy just once.
Yeah. Boo.
But yeah, basically it started out with between Edge and Ray, which are probably the best people in that match to start off with.
Oh yeah. For
one thing, Edge is able to sell his flying head scissors and Hurricane Ranas quite well, better than anyone else, so it doesn't just look like they're getting whipped. They kind of do their usual spots. They go back and forth. Barrett enters third, and throughout the match, Barrett pretty much has the short end of the stick. He tries to tease a wasteland to Ray on the steel, but he ends up hitting Edge with Ray and drops him, and then gets thrown into the glass on 2 separate occasions. I think Barrett was the first person eliminated, if I'm not mistaken.
There were a lot of bumps into the chamber that looked like they sucked for the guy taking them tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
Here's how that grate works, and I wince every time somebody hits that shit. It goes back to the way that, a sharp object works. How something cuts something else when you're using a knife is that you're using a great deal of force on a very thin edge on a flat surface. When you use enough force, it cuts through the flat surface. That grate is a very thin object. just a bunch of very thin objects in a row. But still, when you land on that, I mean, we'll get back to this with CM Punk in the other match, but we all saw what he looked like. I mean, I could not imagine. I've bumped on the concrete a couple of times. It hurts, but it's doable. I could not imagine bumping on that metal shit.
Yeah, didn't Chris Jericho once say, it's like, so we're in this match, piled up together, first time we're into it, I don't know what to do, and I'm getting thrown into this wall thinking, couldn't they make this out of a lighter material? And then...
And bullshit, does it weigh 16 tons, by the way?
I don't buy that for a second.
What do they say, it's like 500 miles of chain or something like that?
Yeah, they used to bill it as like 15 miles of chain or something
No,
like
it's not. I'm looking at it. It's not even a mile.
There are definitely some good spots with Elimination Chamber, but like some of the best ones were in the ring, like predominantly between Edge and Ray. Like there's one where I think Ray was going to go for a 619 onto Barrett, and before he could do it, Edge just completely clotheslined him out of his boots. Like a lot of great like kind of surprise spots like that. Like I believe Kane comes in, and the three people that were in there besides Kane just basically gave him a stiff kick to the back and went for a near fall.
Speaking of Kane, that's a guy who I like Kane. I know a lot of people don't. I understand why they don't, because he is a little bit kind of big and plotting. But when he's used well, when he's booked well, like he was in this match, he's tremendously effective. My favorite was after he was eliminated at the end, when it's just Edge and Ray left, he chokeslams both of them. Which is to, A, put over the point that he's a big, scary fucking monster and he'll destroy anybody, and B, it gives Edge and Ray, who've both been in this for half an hour, an excuse to lie down and rest for a minute.
Yeah, Big Show really took that chokeslam well. That was a good spot. We were watching it. We expected it to like go wrong.
I thought it was gonna fall live flat.
The counter went down and Drew came out and he pretty much starts tear-assing everyone. He throws Wade through the pod glass. Like he pretty much like suplexes a bitch in the ring. Like I forgot who it was, but like he kept on going. Like he was really kind of working it.
He was the Energizer Scotsman. He just kept going and going and going.
By the way, for glass that's supposedly bulletproof, it's surprisingly flimsy.
Thank God that they stopped saying the bulletproof shit. I didn't hear that once, and I was thankful.
Why do they need to say bulletproof anyway? It's like nobody in the entire arena is going to pull a Lee Harvey Oswald.
Well, it was to make it look more impressive when someone got thrown straight through the glass.
Yeah, which is, what are you going to say next? It's made out of adamantium? Come on. It's transparent aluminum from Star Trek.
Basically how the sequence went, like, Drew McIntyre Future Shocks Big Show, near fall. Ray does a seated senton from the top rope, near fall. Edge, Spear Show, near fall. And Kane chokeslams him and he gets eliminated. Like, almost immediately after, Big Show gets eliminated, Kane just chokeslams Drew, eliminates him.
So then everybody gets eliminated and it goes back to Ray versus Edge. And again, great bout. I especially loved it when Edge busted out his submission. It was the first time in a long time he's done that.
Your education,
And those guys work together so well, and it's hard to do babyface versus babyface. Especially with a guy like Edge, who is, until fairly recently been such a piece of shit in terms of his character for so long. But they pulled it off remarkably well in an even Steven fact. Okay, I could have done with a couple less 619s.
Oh, there were like at least 20 in that match. I like the 619, it's a good maneuver, but just like everybody just happens to trip right in the middle rope.
Oh, yes.
Which wouldn't be a problem if it ever happened in any other matches besides Rey Mysterio, but they don't, of course.
See, I just like that nowadays they're introducing the reversal where people basically catch him. But yeah, the end of the match was very exciting. Just as a start, like Ray and Edge are the two best people to start it, two best people to finish it. Like there were a lot of near falls, and like I was really, like, we were all really complimenting on like their reactions to him. Like Edge misses a spear to Ray, and then Ray just gets back up and Edge immediately spears him afterwards. 2 count after that, and Edge just looked like, what the fuck, man? Like how do I put this guy down?
And Ray had that great reaction after he hit the splash on Edge, and Edge kicked out, and you could see even behind the mask Ray's entire face just bugging out.
He took off the strap. He knew he meant business.
Yeah, and the thing was, like, towards the end, they were actually walking a tightrope between, like, doing too many, like, finish spots, too many near falls, but they capped it when they should have. Like, Ray attempted a splash from the top rope, Edge speared him. It was an impactful enough, like, move that he got the pin.
Yeah, that's the thing, and this will come back into play later in the other chamber match. Your best move is your finish. Your biggest high spot is your finish. Like, what if Edge had hit the spear in midair and Ray had kicked out of that, and then Edge just DDTs him and pins him? And I see that on indie matches a lot, man. Your best move is your finish, period.
After the match, Del Rio interrupts. He comes into attack Edge to, I guess, like set up for WrestleMania. And Christian, to everyone's surprise and isolation, makes the save. Does the unprettier kill switch, impaler, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah, sometimes Christian can fall prey to that Chris Daniels disease where a lot of his moves are so just elegantly executed that sometimes it doesn't look like it hurts. Not here. Not tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But yeah, they go from there to Jerry Lawler, who cuts a damn heartfelt promo, like basically started out by saying it should have been the greatest week of his life leading up to this opportunity, but he was struck with a tragedy. His 9-year-old mother passed away. But like he said, despite all that, I have to focus. Like he receives an outpouring from his friends and family, like support, and he'll give it his all. Like it was a good promo. 2
points on that one. Number one, clearly none of the fucking writers in the back scripted it for him. Number two,
Definitely
it wasn't a promo where a guy is shouting into a microphone at the crowd. It was a dude having a conversation. It was a dude just talking.
It was Jerry Lawler being himself, and that's essentially what a wrestler should put into his character. Just the essence of yourself, if not just be yourself.
Yeah, it's like Corny said. It's not a scripted contrivance that you just kind of remember. It's just from the heart, and it's how you feel.
And they've been, by the way, remarkably classy on handling his mother's death, while, I mean, usually even mentioning it or working it into the fucking storyline at all is something that pisses me off when they do with, like, real-life tragedies or family emergencies of that kind. But the way they did it this time, it was careful enough and cautious and tasteful enough that I didn't mind it.
It didn't go into TNA territory. They can get bad. I lost a wife this year. So did you, buddy. This is now when Booker T hits the ring?
Yeah, pretty much.
Take it away.
Dear Lord.
He basically cuts a promo revealing himself as one of the trainers in Tough Enough, like, which makes me wonder if they're going to use his gym. Because Booker T definitely, he trains wrestlers. He definitely owns a place. I think it's in Texas.
They could.
I doubt it. They'll probably either shoot this either up in Connecticut near the offices or out in California where they shoot.
They could do it, but if like Booker T made a deal saying, okay, I'll train Tough Enough, but you gotta do it at my gym and give him publicity. But WWE is very much one of those self-contained companies.
Yeah,
where they
WWE would have told him to fuck off if he'd given them that ultimatum.
Yeah, WWE would have. So WWE would rather build from the ground their own gym just to have Tough Enough in there than forget about it later when it's canceled, than give Booker T publicity. But we don't know.
How incredibly serious are they at making Tough Enough really work as a success this time with the lineup of people they've got doing it, which leads into this segment.
Yeah, Booker T, Stone Cold, and as he reveals the female trainer, Trish Stratus. She comes in like to the again adulation of pretty much everyone. She cuts a promo, which is like it's glad to see. We're glad to see her, but she says finally the Trish has
who the fuck?
She
had the brilliant idea. Jesus.
Yeah.
It was okay. I mean, we didn't expect the promo to be as good as like Jesus. Rock's return. It wasn't going to be that good, but it was still just like a, hey, Trish is back.
That was the whole point of it. She kind of was like, I'm not The Rock, but I'll do this anyway. She ended with, can you dig that, sucker? And Booker said, she did not just say that.
Is Booker T gonna have to slap a bitch?
and basically, she put herself over as supporting Lawler for the match, but yeah, it goes from there to a tag match between Costino and Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel representing the Core. It was standard fare. I mean, we got to see Heath Slater work as hard as he is nowadays. Like he did a slingshot corkscrew crossbody, was it? Yeah, he did it kind of
like that. Yeah,
but yeah. And basically, the finish went Kaz attempts a running power slam on Gabriel, but while he has him up, Slater tags him, and Kaz goes for the pin on Gabriel, but the ref lets him know it's illegal. Zeke completely drags Gabriel out of the ring by his legs. He starts distracting Kozlov. Slater gives him an inverted DDT, and then Gabriel hits the 450 after being tagged in. We have new champs.
Does it always look to everybody else like it does to me that Justin Gabriel just barely avoids nailing somebody with his feet or knees when he hits that 450?
It looks like he's tipping over like before he goes.
Yeah. And listening to Booker T talk during this match, I realized that they basically hired themselves a new insane, dusty commentator. Talking about Ezekiel Jackson. Yeah, thug! He gonna do something!
Yeah, they're doing a good job. It's just it wasn't that exciting compared to, like, we just saw the Chamber, now we see this.
You'll notice in most of their shows when they have a match that they know that is not the main event, but they know this is a fucking blow-away match, possible match of the night, they'll put something kind of lame on immediately after it. And there's a reason for that. It's to cool the crowd back down.
But I just wish it would have been something more interesting to watch, because you can do matches like, for example, I was at the ROH show and they had a match between the All Night Express and the Coulter Brothers. That was like fast paced and everything was going left to right. And then the next match afterwards was Davey Richards versus a SoCal guy named TJ Perkins. It was just technical wrestling, mat wrestling. It slowed down the crowd, but it wasn't like the matches that were before it that was fast paced, or the matches with the World's Greatest Tag Team and Kings of Wrestling where it was going all over the place.
Am I the only one who gets sleepy at the very mention of TJ Perkins' name? I remember seeing a match when he was Puma against CM Punk, which was like the worst fucking Ring of Honor match I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, I get your point. Why was there no Bryan Danielson on this show? No good reason. There just wasn't.
Oh, actually, to get to that, pimping the name of the show, there was a dark match between DiBiase and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan won it. I'm sure it was just like their stuff on Raw, maybe a tad longer and fairly recurring, but also very flimsy feud.
Dark matches usually tend to be really fucking short, like 3-minute affairs, so it probably wasn't anything special.
Miz actually cut a promo. Essentially, his promos are really good. Like, they seem pre-planned, but they're nonetheless quite clever. Like, he basically started out by asking Grisham, he said, "What year is it? It's not 1983 when it was good to be the king. It's not 1998 when you smelled what The Rock was cooking." And he kind of went on to say it was his time. He's the must-see champion, as he always says. But nonetheless, it really worked well. He didn't draw out the kind of "I'm awesome" thing, because he said, "Oh, I deserve to say it now."
And then we get to the next segment?
Yep, Vicky.
Excuse me!
Oh, God. That woman's voice, it's the sound of my hell. That scream is going to be what I hear when I wake up in the fiery pits of hell.
She pretty much said, Dolph and I were going through some issues. He's really, really sorry. Please give Dolph a second chance. He deserves a second chance. That kind of shit-eating kind of thing. Teddy pretty much comes out. As soon as he comes out, like, she's like, "Oh, you look great, Teddy." Just like this, playing up her completely, like, obviously no one's gonna believe her. She plays that great heel.
Who fucked up her hair? Is she going to Rosie O'Donnell's barber?
There's actually this band called the Rasmus, where the lead singer kind of does his hair up and puts in a crow feather, and that's what it reminds me of. So he brings back Kelly Kelly. Laycool comes in immediately. They start attacking her. But then
we're thinking, oh, this is gonna suck. But then
Trish comes out
and makes it suck more, shockingly.
Yeah, she botches the head scissors takedown on
those fucking heels. I've seen Trish botch that move several times in the past. It's a hard move. I mean, it's difficult to extend your legs all the way up, especially Trish is like 4'10". I mean, not literally, but it seems like it. So that's a hard move to do to begin with, let alone when you're wearing heels that are like basically a foot-long stiletto. What the hell? Whose idea was it to send her out there with that?
Yeah, at the very least, she did the Stratisfaction all right. Like, I was kind of scared. I thought she was going to pull a Mickey, but she did it.
You know, I want Teddy to just come out just all the time. Just not even on his show. He just walks out and he's just like, "Oh, don't mind me. I'm just standing here."
I want Teddy to come out and do the Morris Day and the Time dance from Jungle Love.
Yes! Yes!
Da-da-da-da.
Oh.
I've heard from a couple of people who were like relatives of wrestlers who grew up going backstage, like, because Teddy used to work as a manager and a referee for WCW back in the day, and I've heard from multiple people that he is the nicest guy in the world.
12 years on the SmackDown show, we hang out afterwards. We're just waiting for people to come out. Teddy comes out, and instead of walking to his car, we're like, "Teddy, we love you." He waves and just comes over and just signs a couple autographs and shakes hands. Really nice guy. But I agree with War Machine. He should just pimp on out everything. His music comes out, he's just pimp on out. "Hey, I just dropped my keys. I'm just looking. Keep on with the match."
Why does not he have like a walking stick or something?
Like a fedora with a feather in it.
Maybe those elevator shoes with the fish inside them even?
Well, now we're getting into stereotype territory.
Getting to the first of two main events, I guess we won't consider the SmackDown Elimination Chamber main events. It'll make us deem it even more underrated.
It's the main event to me.
But yes.
In our heart.
And in our soul.
Miz versus Lawler.
I was so bored by this match.
The thing was, I think what's hurt this feud is that they happened to blow their wad really fucking early with that TLC match, the first match these guys had, and they've never been able to quite measure up to it since then.
Yeah, this match definitely wasn't as good as that, but like at the very least, like it was a slow match, a match of psychology. It worked out.
It had to be. What is Lawler, like 62 years old or some shit like that?
It was entertaining. Like you're not going to see Lawler get in there and beat Bryan Danielson. He went in there. He did exactly what he did. Crowd eventually got behind him. I love the guy, but I don't want him to have the World Heavyweight Championship right now. Because if he were to win the belt Elimination Chamber, the next night on Raw, which is tonight, Miz would have gotten it back somehow in some Deus Ex Machina faction.
Well, frankly, I think that's what should have happened. Meltzer mentioned this in his recap. He thought that with the circumstances with Lawler's mom and everything, that this was the night to say, fuck it, put the belt on Jerry. And then, just like the next night, have Miz win it back and have Alex Riley massively interfere, and you can give Lawler a WrestleMania match with Alex Riley, where he can squash that dude and have his WrestleMania moment. It would be the same kind of situation where right after 9/11 happened, when they happened to have Kurt Angle feuding for the belt. They said, well, fuck it. We've got the next pay-per-view coming up, which is in Angle's fucking hometown. He's the American hero. Have him win the belt clean. Stone Cold taps out.
Another possibility for a situation where Lawler would have won the belt would be that, like, Miz would win it back the next night, but instead of Alex Riley interfering, Cole would interfere.
Best spot of the entire night. Jerry Lawler took a play out of Danielson's playbook, punched him in the stomach, and threw him right directly into Cole.
Yeah, Cole was pretty much standing up, shouting at Lawler, going, "You shouldn't be in this! You shouldn't be doing this!"
By the way, better than average commentary tonight, all night long, I noticed.
Yeah.
During the Lawler-Miz match, like, Booker T was really doing a really good job hyping it when there was thought that Lawler might have gotten the pin, stuff like that.
The finish was just kind of out of nowhere. Lawler's beating the shit out of Miz, and then suddenly he hits the stroke, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I'd rather see him hit the stroke than Jeff Jarrett.
True that, yeah.
I'd like to see Jarrett get a stroke.
Just a little one, just a Bret Hart stroke.
Just the one to scare him, not to kill him.
But yeah, after the match, King gets a ovation from the crowd, like they're all cheering him, and Cole keeps on pitching. And while he's pitching, Booker and Josh pretty much give him the JR treatment. They ignore him.
And how many good feuds has Lawler gotten, by the way, in this company? With like Ultimate Warrior,
Jake the Snake.
Yeah, even the shit with Brett, they had to keep interfering with other people, whether it was Yankum or Doink or whomever.
There was like a lot of that kind of healing that Lawler did about being injured, so didn't really produce a lot of great matches in the WWF, but this one was good. This one, the TLC, a lot of matches between Miz and Lawler, and one would question like why Lawler's even involved on such an extensive level, similarly to Bret Hart, like in the beginning of the year, but nonetheless, the matches were decent. After King receives his ovation, we pretty much cut to Cena eating Fruity Pebbles.
Oh, yes. That was awesome.
Yeah, nice subtle allusion to what The Rock was talking about on Monday. He didn't address anything that The Rock said. Like he just said like, "Oh, it's time for the Elimination Chamber."
Now, who the hell eats cereal with a bunch of milk right before they go into a fight? That's just asking to puke, man.
Yeah, that's nasty.
When Cena's funny, he's kind of clever, kind of cute. We cut from Cena to CM Punk, who delivers a CM Punk promo as usual, i.e. a good one. Punk 3, Cena 0, and like he made fun of John Cena's "You Can't See Me." He said, "I can't see John Cena winning the Elimination Chamber," that kind of thing. Worked out. He slicks his hair back these days.
Yeah, I like the look of Punk. I mean, it's fine. But for a long time, he looked like Jesus. So, this is a good change.
Raw Elimination Chamber match. Nothing really notable about the entrances. Orton enters first. Truth enters. Punk enters, and he starts, Cole places his bets on him, and then Punk starts teasing Orton. It was pretty funny. Like, they seem to be the two, like, going together up until the finish. Then, Cena fourth, and we start off with Sheamus versus Morrison. One of the better feuds of the latter end of 2010.
Oh, yeah.
There's something I finally realized about Sheamus. He reminded me of somebody for the longest time, and I could never replace it. And this is going to sound weird when I say this, but hear me out. He reminds me a lot of Mike Awesome. They're about the same size. They execute a lot of their moves remarkably similar, especially when he does the slingshot shoulder block. It's just that Sheamus works infinitely safer than Mike Awesome ever did.
Actually, I want to bring up one point about Sheamus tonight. He needs to stop raising his arms in the middle of the fucking match like he's Raven. That got annoying. He did it like 5 times and it got really annoying. You're not Raven. Knock it off.
But yeah, it pretty much starts with Morrison completely retaining his parkour rage from Monday, completely going nuts on Sheamus. Among the spots was this great one where Jomo tries to springboard from the ropes onto, like, probably a crossbody onto the wall of cage through Sheamus. He hangs onto the cage and then jump kicks Sheamus. Very well done.
That's a spot I've seen before. That's a problem I have a lot of the times with the Elimination Chamber. A lot of these matches tend to look a lot alike. It seems like the very first match they had with Jericho, Rob Van Dam, Triple H, and I forget who the other guys were. Shawn Michaels, I think, and one or two others. Everything they could do with that cage, they already did in the very first match. And hardly anybody, short of maybe John Morrison, has figured out anything new to do with it. They spent like $1 million to build this giant fucking cage and feel like they have to use it frequently because of that. Like, come on, just do Hell in a Cell instead.
Or don't, rather, because they never get anything out of that. And I don't, it's really...
Yeah, not in a while.
Every Hell in a Cell match now is going to try to, well, they're not going to try to top it, but like it won't ever be able to top Mick Foley and Undertaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orton pretty much comes out and power slams Morrison and Sheamus and pretty much goes to town. I believe he throws Morrison through the glass. Like, Morrison was the Barrett of the Raw Elimination Chamber in that regard. Like, he just pretty much ate glass maybe 3 times.
And this is where my problems with this match began to start.
Totally.
They borrowed so much from the SmackDown Elimination Chamber. I don't get why the throwing through glass after doing it 3 times in the SmackDown Chamber. What they think it was going to get an even bigger pop because it was Morrison?
It did keep working. That's the thing.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah, and we go from there to the weird spot of the match.
To my favorite part of the match.
The spinal tap of the match.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, this.
They ring the buzzer for Punk to come out, and then, like, he's so eager to get out that, like, the door doesn't open completely. He gets stuck. His arm and shoulder gets stuck through it, and he's, like, very eager to get out. He's trying to get out. They're trying to allow him to get out.
And he has the most perfect, oh, fuck, look on his face.
And Randy's just...
He's just standing, like, right next to him, smiling.
He eventually gets out. Randy Orton pretty much stomps him out whole, does the RKO, and then pins him.
Yeah.
And then the ever-annoying sound strikes again. That GM calls and essentially says, look, that wasn't fair. So I'm going to put Punk back in his cage, and then we're going to pretend that never happened. Why was this necessary? I mean, it didn't get anyone over. It wasn't like Punk cheated or anything, or Orton cheated. Why was the spot necessary at all? It wasn't really all that funny. It just... Ugh.
I liked it, and I'll tell you why. Because it established that Punk is kind of a pussy. Because that's kind of his whole gimmick. He hides behind his underlings. And when suddenly he's caught in a disadvantageous position, I don't know if that's actually a word, disadvantageous, but I just made it up anyway, Orton beats the living shit out of him and pins him and gives everybody in the crowd who hates Punk a good feel-good moment. But then, because Punk's entire gimmick is he skirts the rules and that sort of thing, the GM helps him out and is like, oh, never mind, it didn't count. He can go rest and get better.
He's a smart, maniacal villain rather than being the more hands-on villain.
I almost wonder if they did that just to make the IWC think that there was a botch.
I honestly thought it was a botch. Like, I'll flat out admit that. Like, when I was watching, I'm like, oh, how do you fuck up something that simple? You open, you close it, you dolts.
And Punk's facial expressions are the greatest. And I'm not the biggest Punk fan in the world, but he did his job damn well on the night here.
What else happened in this match? That's how forgettable it was.
And not all of it. Morrison channeling Spider-Man. Morrison did this brilliant spot. How they eliminated Sheamus. Morrison got thrown onto the cage wall, and once again he grabbed on. Or no, wait, he was on top of the pod, I think. One way or another, however he got up there, he climbed up the ceiling of the cage. Sheamus is looking around like, well, what the fuck? Where'd he go? I just was beating this guy up a second ago. He disappeared. And Morrison basically dropped off the ceiling of the cage and landed on Sheamus like a fucking 10-pound weight and pinned him. And the finish was he had Cena set up, like Cena was dead and he had him set up against a pod and he went for the running knee, but Cena moved and he did a really fucking good job of slamming his knee directly into the pod glass, which did not break. And he sold that for the rest of the match while Punk and Cena were beating each other up. Every once in a while, Morrison would, barely get up to do something. Eventually, Cena FUs him, pins him, and the match finished with he got Punk up for the FU. I'm not calling it the goddamn attitude adjustment, by the way, but that's just me. And he FU'd Punk onto the steel to pin him and win the match.
Oh, my God.
That looked like it sucked.
Just looking at that,
Especially how he landed kind of half on the steel, but with his upper back landing on the ring apron. I mean, which, there's not a big gap, but there's a little bit of a gap. They're not precisely the same height. That had to hurt.
One of the problems I had with Cena winning is that you didn't really feel like he did anything during the match. Nothing really notable. Then he just does the FU to Punk and gets the win. Everyone else pretty much did their spots. R-Truth came out and I believe he did an Osaka street cutter, among other things. Then immediately after he got eliminated.
Yeah, R-Truth got eliminated really fucking quick. I didn't notice that.
And getting back to Punk's great acting, he made fun of Randy Orton by doing the whole Viper taunts, he flopped around the crowd. That was great.
Cena did do one impressive thing. Cena's fucking strength and being able to pick anybody up always amazes me. Punk had him in the figure 4 fucking chokehold deal, and he stood up with Punk on his shoulders. That was fairly impressive. That's not easy to do. That takes strength, real strength.
Yeah. Overall, it wasn't a bad match. It was just the ending of the match was just disappointing. I mean, when we were watching, we were watching it together in a group. Everybody was really excited for the entire pay-per-view, and then that predictable ending happened, killed the entire rest of the mood for the night.
Because it pretty much it went on to spoil WrestleMania. There was another possibility in our heads that Morrison could have won. He could have went to WrestleMania to face The Miz. It would have made sense.
And on that note, we would like to thank you for listening to The Dark Match. I'm Mr. War Machine.
I'm the Magpie, Kakakachu.
I'm the cunning linguist known as Jingus.
And I'm Christopher Says. You have a good night.
Del Rito, with his athleticism, jumps up and is able to do a lump.
Whoa. Did you just say Del Rito?
Rio.
It sounded like you said Del Rito, man.